Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dustin Cron, the founder of the Center for Global Muslim Life. Welcome back to the Global Muslim Film Festival. It's really a blessing tonight to be with many of my brothers and to be with Justin Mashouf, the filmmaker, the director of this film. It's a really beautiful film. It's available on our YouTube channel for about the next 24 hours. And after that, you have to rent it or watch it on Amazon Prime. So go to Center for Global Muslim Life on our YouTube page, and you can check out more there. So Justin Mashouf is, wait, first we want to talk about our sponsors. Thank you to Penny Appeal Worldwide, UK and US, who've led sponsoring this festival. It wouldn't have been possible without you. And also to our community sponsors, Amana Mutual Funds Trust and the American Muslim Community Foundation. Justin Mashouf is a four-time Emmy-winning filmmaker and artist living in Los Angeles, California. Justin's most recent documentary, The Honest Struggle, tells the story of an ex-gang leader returning home from prison while trying to redefine himself in a world in which he feels no belonging. And welcome in, Justin. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me, Dustin.
Yeah, of course. And Justin, more than that, is one of the most generous, mashallah, filmmakers I've ever met and had the honor to know, who's constantly offering, his service, his love, his feedback. And I think that it's with that ethos that, he was one of the first filmmakers I knew in the community that really, and it encouraged me how to act myself as someone, being generous with our time. But Justin, we wanted to welcome you into the festival. And what do you think, about this idea of having a festival with as diverse of films as we're showcasing over these 5 weekends?
I think it's a really amazing program. It's something that is the first of its kind. We have so many talented voices, so many, amazing artists globally. And I feel like this is one of the first efforts to kind of congeal all those efforts and showcase a lot of our talent in such a unique way. And, for better or for worse, we're all locked inside. So this is a great moment for us to share art and community through film and cinema.
Yeah, and thank you, Justin. And over this month, we have 30 films. We have over 90 artists from around the world that are participating in these discussions. And it really shows you the range of films, ranging from Preacher Moss's film last weekend, this jazz comedy film, to the conversation we had last week on Ertugrul. Today, we had a film about a Moroccan philosopher, Her Abdurrahman. We have Finding Fatima tomorrow, which is this really beautiful British comedy. And then we even have Indonesian martial artist Hana al-Rashid with us tomorrow night. So it shows you the diversity in the film. But of course, rooting ourselves in the United States, where most of us, 3 of the 4 of us right now, are in Southern California. We of course want to recognize everything that's happening in the world. The Center for Global Muslim Life, our ethos are rooted in Malcolm X's understanding of Muslims as global internationalist people working in solidarity with one another. And that's really why we're doing this film festival, to see our global stories. So of course, we're rooted in the love and respect for the African-American community. We also recognize that we're on Kume land here. I'm here in San Diego, that this is a tribe that always lived on the current border that's in place. So Justin, can you talk a bit about this film? I think that it's really an amazing example of what it takes to be a filmmaker. I believe this is one. You've made a number of features from your film in Iran about being a b-boy, and that I remember we've known each other for a long time. To now coming to working on this film, you said you've been working on this film for almost 10 years. Can you talk about the type of commitment it takes to really be a filmmaker and to get these types of stories out to the world?
Yeah, I mean, a type of documentary like this, you have to have a little bit of a screw loose in order to do it. But really what knocked my screw loose, in a very good way, was honestly the story of Malcolm X as a kid reading it, and the way that it really just shook my worldview about America and about humanity and about spirituality. And when I was in college, towards the end of 2009, I started corresponding with incarcerated Muslims, just really out of a fateful interaction with a chaplain through email. So I decided I wanted to research this topic, and I started recording my phone conversations with brothers. I started visiting brothers that were incarcerated, and trying to get the resources in order to visit a prison. I was talking to brothers for so long, some of them were actually being released. So then I would visit them, I would film with them for a week, and I would feel out their stories and try to figure out, what is the story that I really want to tell about incarcerated Muslims and what Islam really means for incarcerated individuals. And in 2010, I learned about the Inner City Muslim Action Network and the work they were doing with what was then called Project Restore, which is now called Project Green Reentry, which is a leadership home. It's essentially bringing Muslims that are re-entering society from incarceration and recreating the community that they had in prison. So it's a home of Muslims. They can eat together, they get to pray together, they can talk and be in congregation with one another in order to keep their faith strong. And so in 2010 I started documenting the house, and in 2013 was when Sadiq was released. And I decided that he really opened his story to me, and he was the person that was going to carry the story of the film throughout.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think it's so important that we reflect on this fact, right? That so many of our stories, whether you're a convert or not, are rooted in this story of an incarcerated African-American Muslim, Malcolm X, who converts in prison. And then now we have all these stories that so much of who we are, we're rooted in these things, right? So I think that this film, I really encourage mosques and Muslim institutions in this moment. We have a big problem in our community where we're not dealing with the realities of intra-Muslim racism and divisions in our communities. I think this film is a perfect film to screen at Masajid to create conversations. It's a really beautiful film. Can you talk about some of the difficulties? One of the things we've been talking about is then, so you work 10 years on the film, and then you try to figure out the issues of distribution. Can you talk about what that was like playing at film festivals, and then where the film is now and where people can find it even after it's offline in the next 24 hours from our website?
Yeah, so I was very blessed to receive a grant that was the first of its kind from the Islamic Scholarship Fund. In 2014, they granted me $20,000 to help make this film. And if it was not for that grant, this film would either not exist or would be very, very different than what it is right now. And it really lit a fire under me and allowed me, the space to actually explore. And the film, I was living in Los Angeles, so I was traveling to Chicago to tell the story. And then after making the film and going to film festivals, it's a very strange kind of media landscape that we are when you're making a film about a person of faith, when you're making a film about a person of color that is also a person of faith, and it's a very kind of challenging thing, it seems, unfortunately, for a lot of whether it be distribution companies or whether it be film festivals in arranging it and curating it. So it's a lot of work putting out a film like this, and it's really up to us in the Muslim film world or as a global Muslim community is to embrace cinema really for what it is and really take advantage of our own stories. We have a lot of amazing storytellers, and they're going through a lot of the same challenges that I was when I was trying to put this film out. So honestly, if we were to get ahead of this, there's a lot of both spiritual benefit and monetary benefit we can gain from it, because these are stories that are for everyone. We just have to give them the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, and big shout out to Islamic Scholarship Fund. I know a number of films, even like Nigel Mumin's film Jinn,
Yes.
so many films that are really amazing films have received Musa Saeed's films. I think so many people have received support. So I'll put the link in the comments to the film grant, and young filmmakers should apply throughout the U.S. And one last question that we've been asking filmmakers. So this is of course a film that at its core is about social justice, but it's also about spirituality. And like you said, there's a lot of benefit we as a community can gain from making films, and really beautiful films that reflect our community. But how do you, as a filmmaker, convey the spiritual, something that ultimately is a feeling that we all know? To know God and have God's presence in one's life, of course, is rooted in our hearts. But how do you convey that in film, and what are your thoughts on that?
Woo! You're gonna ask me the hardest question. I don't even know how I did it and how I do it, but really, the cinema verite style really lends itself to the act of witnessing and observing, and human beings are very expressive in the way that we interact with our face. So one of the challenges of documenting a person, especially somebody as energetic and outspoken as Sadiq, is that sometimes when your subject knows the camera's rolling, you're not really getting what's deep inside, and it's actually imperative to be filming on those moments where nobody's paying attention, and you're really allowing you're actually witnessing facial expressions for what they are in the moment during those challenging social interactions with one or two or three more people. And those are the points in the film where we really get to see deep inside of somebody. Is those interactions with others. It's never in interviews. Reaching that never comes through in interviews and documentaries. It's always comes through in witnessing interactions between people.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you for that, Justin. And with that, we wanted to, and it really, again, it's an honor to have you with us and to feature this film. Like I said, it's my highest recommendation for institutions and even multi-faith congregations that are interested in issues of reentry to screen this film and to create discussions around the film. Do you have did you create some type of discussion guide so far?
Yes, yeah, we actually have an educational guide. The film is currently playing in multiple prisons in Indiana, I believe in Illinois, and in California as well. So we have discussion guides that we give to chaplains. We have university screenings, even high school screenings, and we give that educational guide for free.
That's really amazing. So, I mean, and that's one of the things about films like this, right, is it's almost like when we came out with our short film, Prayer Beyond Borders, one of the things I noticed was, maybe the internet consumption of it might have been slow, but I called it university viral, right? Mm. It really ends up being viral in the classroom spaces because good content gets consumed ultimately.
That's right.
So, yeah, we're going to bring in our brother Sadiq. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, and so thank you again for putting your life on film. I feel like it's such a gift that you've given the world to be so vulnerable in front of the camera and to show your story. And we pray that your story helps transform lives and the work that both of you did. So with that, I'm going to step back and let the two of you talk more about this film.
Absolutely. So Sadiq, I wanted to ask you, one of the things I consistently reflect on is really, somebody who's gone through, the steps that you have. Why did you allow somebody like me to document your story?
To begin with, I had no other choice. To begin with, I had no other choice at all. Initially, when it was first brought to me about doing the documentary, again, the first thing that crossed my mind was the FBI. That's what I was thinking in terms of. But I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the truth had to be gotten out. And if I was going to be utilized as a vehicle for that, then I was on board. That's what it is that I wanted to do. Of course, it took a while for me to get adjusted to the fact that, I had to take out the time to trust that, we would get out the message to perhaps allow us to be the change it is ourselves that we had been looking for in others. So, Justin, when you came along and that opportunity was given to me, I felt like this was work. I had to do this because my story represented so many others guys, sisters and brothers stories who are still incarcerated. So I know with everything good, there has to be a beginning. So I decided to get off into it wholeheartedly because I felt like the people in the world had to understand what it was like for us to be coming out into a world in which we don't know anything about and get a chance to see just exactly how much it is that we're going through, trying to adjust into a world that we know very little about. And even to this day, I still feel the same way. I think if we had to do it again at any given time for any reason, I'm on board, because once again, we are trying to educate people about what this transition is like coming out to a world in which you feel there is no belonging, no connection. And people don't seem to understand that for the most part. So I'm grateful that Justin took out the time and attention to choose me for such a remarkable journey, because it has taught me so much about myself and my own internal growth as a result of my continued work and efforts to get out the right message.
And tell us where you're at right now. You know, the film ends. Hopefully everybody's seen it by now. You know, you did not end up back in prison, thank God. What are you doing right now?
Well, at this particular time, we have a cleaning service that we have in Los Angeles, licensed, insured, and bonded. And we, clean business properties, etc., in order to make an honest living, doing all the right things. Plus, it gives us an opportunity to sit down and talk with people who's returning to society, to let them get some kind of glimpses of what it is that they may have to go through concerning their return back in society. It's still not a walk in, it's not a walk in the park. As a matter of fact, I say this with all sincerity. It's a remarkable, beautiful struggle. And right when you've come to the conclusion that everything is easy and it's all good, you find yourself back where it is that you was, because the saga continues. In this case, it's an honest struggle.
So, there's a, I think a lot of people recognize that, the criminal justice system in the U.S. is not necessarily designed to what they call rehabilitate, due to all the statistics. And, even you yourself, you did 3 stints in prison. For you, what worked? What saved you from essentially getting stuck in that cycle?
Islam. Salah, Ramadan, doing what it is that we are supposed to do as Muslims, because it affords you an opportunity to see that now you really have something that is that you can live about. I had before, they have to commit to something other than themselves to do the work it is that we're supposed to be doing as Muslims. So that works for me. These last couple of weeks, as a matter of fact, it has been very difficult. And during these times, I realized no matter how much difficulty came along, that I had to remain headstrong, remain faithful, and continue to do what it is I'm supposed to be doing as a Muslim, especially with beautiful brothers like yourself and yourself on the other end of the phone line when it was needed to help me stay on track.
Yeah. And I would ask too, what was it about, Iman that was such an important kind of part of your reentry journey?
Iman gave me an opportunity to stay in contact with the same kind of brothers it is that I was incarcerated with. So you had a sense of belonging when you come out to the world.
You mean the good type of folks you were incarcerated with?
Ain't no doubt about it. Iman gave me an opportunity to practice my way of living, just the same way it is that I did in prison. And that's something it is that I hadn't experienced before. A lot of times we come out of prison based on what it is that we already have in life and things it is that we see. We had a tendency to drop that. You know, we had a tendency to forget what sustained us through all of those years is the same thing that's needed in order to keep us focused while we out here on the street. So in mine, it contributed a great deal to that taking place because it reminded me that it was all right for me to be who it is I was on the street as a Muslim, the same way I was in prison. And even in such a small circle, we can still identify the fact that a brotherhood exists. And I had been with that kind of circle for a substantial amount of years. So to come out to prison and to see that it wasn't exactly what it was in prison made me realize that I had to work a little hard to make sure that things like that can manifest itself, because if it saved my life, you know, it was such a beautiful transition, then, you know, God willing, it would do the same thing for so many others.
I want to bring things to the current moment right now, because right now there's such a big discussion right now in America. There's demonstrations that Black communities are over-policed, that people are brutalized and they're terrorized in many ways. I want you to talk a little bit about, you know, there's a scene in the film in which you were detained. And you were, you know, standing outside somewhere, just talking with a friend, and you essentially were picked up by the police. And you called me. You were in jail. You called me, and I was terrified because I thought you were going back to prison. Can you tell me about that, and how does that feel as you know, as somebody who's, you know, been raised in that in an environment where you're consistently treated as a suspect, and that you are can just be taken into a police station at any time for no reason?
It felt like I was looking at myself in a 3D horror movie. You know, I hadn't, I didn't expect that, you know. And one of the things about this life is I realized that you are often faced with the unexpected. So this was that opportunity for me. And it was at a time where I was about to feel like that's where it is that I belong anyway. I began to think like, well, this is my opportunity to go back off into this place. And I didn't have a problem with it, although deep within myself, I knew I didn't want to do that. But based on how society was set up and the different things taking place in the Black community, it felt like it was destined to be that way. So when I talked with you on the phone, I was afraid. At the same time, I felt a sense of relief, because in my efforts to try to do the right thing, no matter what it is I was trying to do, it turned out to be wrong. It just wasn't working for me. So when I talked with you, it was like, well, I'm getting just and ready for the fact that I'm going back home. This is the only home it is that I know. This is the only thing it is that I know. So I knew deep within myself it's not something that is that I wanted, because there were so many people depending on me. It was so many people standing like yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but just the mere fact that we hadn't done anything, not my next thought was that, is they're going to try to make something out of this? Is they're going to try to make something out of an arrest that was nothing? We haven't done anything besides stood on the block and talked to each other as friends used to do, the same way we were in prison. Me and this young man, we did a lot of time together. He was a friend of mine, and his health was failing. As a matter of fact, may he rest in peace. He returned to Allah. And this was one of those opportunities that I wanted to come and talk to him, because I knew, like me, his time was running out.
Right.
So I go ahead, I'm listening.
I was going to ask you, you know, your growing up, what was your first, you know, interaction with law enforcement?
My first reaction?
No, your first interaction with law enforcement. What was the first time you ever basically were arrested or detained?
Oh man, when I was a child. You know, I was a child. I started at a very young age, 9, 10 years old.
Wow.
So I knew that with them getting their hands on me at the age of 60, 59 years old, like I was telling you, it's done. I'm done. No matter what it is that I do, they're going to make it something far worse than what it is, based on how it is I used to live. So your heart can change. And what it taught me was that, but your face don't. So again, it was a situation that appealed to be, we got to make something out of nothing because there's too many things happening in the community that we had no control of. And here we got Mr. Davis in it now. He's back into this stuff again, just as a result of visiting. You know, so it was pretty scary to me, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring in Brother Yusuf. He is a leader here in Southern California, Brother Yusuf Wiley. He's the leader of an organization called Timeless Group, which has reentry services. And, it's a very large project. And thank you for joining us. I want to ask you and open up to you and ask you why it's so important, or what inspired you. Let's say this. I'll start with this. What inspired you to be active in the reentry space and start a reentry project?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually, an important one as well. What got me involved, it actually started before I even came home. So I was actually serving a life sentence in the state of California prison system. And I served about 22 years in prison, and dealing with the different governors and the way the politics works in California, I really didn't think I would ever get out of prison. So I started doing self-help programs while I was inside, the whole idea of rehabilitation. And that came obviously as a result of my Islam, becoming a Muslim while I was in there, and that need, that desire to give back to the community, give back to my people. And it was mostly people that was inside with me that I knew were going home. And then I would think to myself, what were they going out to? What would they expect when they go out? What is there to expect when they get out? And after being there such a long time, seeing folks come back to prison and I'm still there, it's like, okay, we need to come up with something. We need some solutions on how we can actually help folks reform themselves so that when they get out, they don't come back. That was like a big thing with me inside, where I would see folks come in and out of prison and I'm still there. Years going by, I see folks leaving, I see them come back. And oftentimes they would come to the same facility, same yard that I was on. So that's what kind of got me feeling like, I need to do something. I need to start working on this. And it just took off from there. And eventually I was released from prison. And the program that I started in prison, we developed into a nonprofit 501c3 organization that's now housing over 85 people in LA. So
that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about why you feel the Muslim community is both active in this space and so successful in basically the realm of reentry.
Right. Well, I think, the fact that many of us that are in and out of these prisons, as we're always stereotyped, of course, the black man from the communities here. And then so many of us, think about it, many of us are converts to Islam. When we went to prison, we wasn't Muslims. Many of us were not Muslim. A large percentage of us was not Muslims when we went to prison. During the time we were in prison, we became Muslim. So we had exposure to both sides. We had exposure to that faith, and then we had exposure to them streets. And so many of us being Muslim, becoming Muslim, the fastest growing religion in the prison system. It's only right. It only made sense to be those that would actually offer that support that in the reentry space, that is. And, and we've been doing a fine job at it. And I think the Muslims should be more involved, actually. I really feel like a lot more Muslims should actually be involved in this space, because it's not just the African-American Muslims that are going to prison or coming out of prison. It's, you're starting to see folks from the immigrant communities going into the prison, being exposed and affected by living in these communities by the gangs and things of that nature, and ending up in prison. And so we all stand to benefit from getting more involved in this space.
What do you feel like,
Yeah.
you know, this reentry, mass incarceration is such a massive challenge, and recidivism is such a, you know, a grim reality of our communities. What do you feel like is the magic? I don't want to say magic. What is the recipe that you try to prepare the brothers and sisters that are coming into your homes in order to give them success? What do you feel are those necessary ingredients for success?
Right. So I would say our blueprint is and has been this ability to empower people. You know, many other programs, they offer a job, minimum wage, things of that nature, and that doesn't work. That doesn't feed anyone's family. Coming out of prison after selling drugs and making fast money and then being told you're going to be paid $12 an hour, $13 an hour, living in California, paying rent that costs you $2,000 a month, it's just not going to happen. So our focus has been, number one, housing, right? So we provide that housing so that they don't have to worry about that. You know, somewhere they can lay their head every day without worrying about the lights being turned off, paying rent month to month. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that peer-to-peer support, that mentoring, that workforce, job readiness, preparing them for the world. First, as just a person that can hold a job, number one. Number two, becoming entrepreneurs, picking up new skill sets, learning how to use a computer, doing all these different things so that they can become more self-sufficient, so that they're not so heavily reliant upon the government assistance, government help, GR, and all these different type of programs, and thinking that's going to keep them out of prison when they end up going back to what they're used to, what they know, because they can make fast money. So we've tried to come up with a formula, and it's been working. Now, what we've done differently as an organization is we created that space within the organization, meaning those employment opportunities where they can become case managers, where they can become directors of operation, where they can become leaders within our agency and make a lot of money. So that's kind of like has been our approach. So 85% of our people in our organization, we're 65 employees now. 85% of our employees are formerly incarcerated, but they hold titles as directors, director of programs, regional director, case managers, program managers. So they're making enough money to pay their rent. See? So
that's fantastic. And I want to ask you both a question, and I'll start with Sadiq. You know, what are the things that the average person, you know, can do to help somebody who is re-entering society, whether on an individual level or on an institutional level?
Well, I think that on the individual level, to help anybody coming out of an institution, the first thing you need to understand is that they might not have went to prison for something it is that they done.
Right.
You know, the first thing you need to understand is that the second thing, well, is that they coming out of prison to do something different, which means that they have basically, especially when they're seeking the help of others, they have reset. And we have to hold them accountable and to make sure that they stay grounded and connected to the same things it is that they stayed connected to while they was in prison. You know, we have a program it is that we've initiated called Reset. Reset means responsible, ethical servants embracing transformation. Now, in this program, you know, we tried to teach those coming out of prison that first of all, you're going to be held responsible. So the first thing we need to do is let you see, and we have to understand what this entails, what responsibility is all about. Then we're going to teach you about how to be ethical. Then we're going to let you understand what it means to be a servant. Then we want you to understand, as a result of returning back to society, you have embraced a transformation. So now we have to begin to activate it so it can help you navigate through life.
And so I'll ask the same question to you, Yusuf. You know, what is something that institutions within the Muslim community can do, and you know, just the average person that's like, you know, I feel for, you know, these brothers and sisters that are coming home. I want to help. How do I do it?
right.
You got
Go ahead.
My approach has been Definitely the education piece. Like we at our place, we have computer labs and things like that. Many of the individuals that's coming home never used a computer before. They don't even know how to upload a resume to a job site and things like that. So definitely the housing and the educational piece is key. You know, the training, the getting folks certifications to drive and operate machines and things of this sort. So having a stability of having housing, somewhere to live when they come home, on top of having this training piece that brings them up to speed to 2020, which we're in now, which allows them to navigate through society, that allows them to walk in a bank or any other type of a business and know how to function without being intimidated or in fear that they're going to fail. So this is the approach that we have to take as community. We have to support housing. We have to support job training and educational services, because all these things are expensive. The average person can't get out and go buy a college. They can't go to 10 Berkeley. They're not going to get the education unless we're giving it to them. You know, the certifications, unless we're giving it to them. Learning how to use a computer, unless we're giving it to them, how to code and things of this sort. So we have to be providing both that stability of having housing, somewhere to live, and training and employment so that they can save their money. Once they make that transition from our housing site, they're able to get their own place.
And it's ironic that you mentioned that, because in USEF doing the kind of things it is that they're doing with their program, we get them ready for people just like USEF. You know, we make it possible for them to understand that this transformation it is that you're making to try to do some things it is with your life that needs to be done has to be implemented immediately. You know, so you have to change who it is that you were to become who it is that you are, because we're not looking at who you were. We're looking at who it is that you are and what we got to do at this moment to help you continue to navigate through society.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys for the discussion. I mean, if there's one thing that, you know, you'd want people to know about, you know, the work that you do, or, you know, how they can help, you know, now's the time. Please let us know.
Well, definitely the Timeless Group. If you share the link, www.timelessgroup.org. That's TIMELISTGROUP.org. Go there, make donations. We're always accepting books, educational material, of course, and you know, computers, access to technology, because that's really key. That's one of the big barriers that many of the individuals have when they get out, is how to access technology, how to use new technology in this day and time. So funding, we actually trying to purchase a property now so that we don't have to pay rent no more to one of the owners. So we're actually about to start a campaign, and we're going to be raising money to buy this property, which is going to house 23 people. So we definitely need the support of the community to help us fulfill that. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
And Sadiq, what about you? How can people, you know, connect with what you're doing?
Well, to begin with, we try to offer jobs. No, we don't try. We offer jobs to people coming out of prison to get them ready for the next level of their journey with being free in this world. The name of our cleaning service is LA's S&A Cleaning Services, LLC. The program it is that we try to bring inside the homes and minds of others that we encounter is called Reset, Responsible Ethical Service, Embracing Transformations. You can get in touch with me through LA's S&A Cleaning Services, or you can just give me a call. However you want to do it, let's do it. The bottom line is something has to be done opposed to leaving that blank. Because when we leave it blank, then we begin to fill it up with things that only exist in your mind. And since it's not just about you and it's about us, reach out to us to let us show you that we are together the change it is that you've been looking for.
Absolutely. And anybody who wants to message Sadiq, they can send we have a contact form on the website. You just put in your subject line for Sadiq and he'll get that message.
Yeah. Thank you again, everybody. I wanted to thank you, Justin, for the film and for your amazing work.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for Sadiq for being willing to put yourself out there And brother Yusuf, I remember we met right when you had came home in the Bay Area, and we really bonded quickly. And it's amazing to see the level of growth and transformation and what you've been able to accomplish, mashallah, what you all have been able to accomplish. I wanted to ask you, Yusuf, could you close us with a prayer, and especially thanking for those brothers and sisters who are locked up and thinking about the situation happening in the streets around this country right now? I think it would be fitting.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Ya Allah, bless us, bless the movement, bless all of the things that are happening with Dustin and Justin as they make us know and aware of what is going on with the Muslim community here in the United States and abroad. We ask that Allah blesses us, bless all of us to continue this journey, to continue to support good, and to continue to support our brothers and sisters that are still behind those walls of confinement and incarceration, and that we're able to continue to serve them as they come home to us, and that all of our families and our loved ones are able to embrace us once again in this day, and that you continue to hold us accountable as Muslims. Ameen.
Amen. Thank you, brother Dustin and Justin. I see the connection.
That's right.
Dustin and Justin. If you need any real guidance to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you feel yourself falling short, get in touch with one of them brothers. I guarantee you they'll resurrect your mind from a dead state. You said, if you run for public office, you said I'm voting for you.
There was one comment from Brother Ernst.
Oh, Ernest.
Assalamu alaikum.
Brother Ernest.
Assalamu alaikum, Ernest.
And Brother Wali Hakim.
Hey.
All right, brothers. Great to see you.
Brother.
All right, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Remember, I don't want nobody to get